My goal here is to make this fun, hopefully using humor. Let me see if my advancing works. There you go. So we're going to talk about how to gain some intellectual capacity across your teams through creating a culture of sustainable engineers. I was asked when we were making our slide deck to try and weave in culture with innovation, just as Christine had shared earlier this morning when she showed her infinity sign of culture and innovation. I'm hoping to bring both of those themes into my slide deck today. So let's jump in. So just a quick, for those of you that might not be familiar with Zoom, which I can't imagine any of you are not familiar with Zoom, but just in case, there were a couple updates. So we wanted to put this up here just as a reminder. So I think all of you are muted by default. We can always unmute you or provide help if you need it. You guys understand the chat and all the basics. So don't need to spend a lot of time. So let me set the stage real quick. The first couple bullets were the teaser language that had been posted and shared. We're really on a journey here, and innovation journey is really, Dr. Crow was so inspiring today, ties really nicely into we're always innovative. It's a part of who we are. It's who we embrace, and it's what drives us and helps us really get into the next generation of technology and bringing learning and everything together. So today we're going to talk about how can we gain some intellectual capacity. And I'm going to ask this group, and I'm really looking forward to what you come up with, because I don't have all the answers. And so hopefully today, you guys will help me with either doing, identifying some challenges or potentially giving me some ideas for automation. So we are going to do a breakout session. And so my outcome desired, as I have highlighted here on the bottom, is to gather suggestions or big ideas that can help empower, pun intended, other IT units across ASU to gain intellectual capacity, whether it's inside UTO or in another area that has their own IT unit. Maybe we can get some momentum here and see how we can gain some intellectual capacity. So I'm going to show you some challenges that have been identified, some things that UTO leadership has learned that could be barriers to innovation. I'll share one example of how we had started to make some pivots towards innovation and prioritizing that work. UTO, then we'll talk about the cultural pivot that we saw was necessary, talk about some sustainable practices, and then we'll do a breakout session. So first, I thought I'd just take a second to do some throwback IT practices. So this is our first challenge. I have to say thank you to Carol and Victoria for helping me find these things. But legacy IT support, before I go to the next slide, you know, traditional in-person support is changing, right? Especially given our new before COVID, during COVID, after COVID. And so thinking about after COVID support practices, you know, how are we going to make some changes so that not only can we adhere to the new COVID practices, but allow our support engineers to have more time to work on bigger challenges and being able to share resources. So the first challenge, if you recall, if any of you have seen Saturday Night Live, hopefully this comes through.
It just crashes every time my screensaver comes up.
All right, let's run a test. Just type in xy dot violator flash 467 F46.
Type in move.
So I don't know if anybody has seen that SNL skit. It is from a bit ago, but it kind of underlines the old support practices. People physically going in person have to put their hands on the keyboard, educating them, this is the internet, or have you tried rebooting it, right? Or putting disks in actual computers. these are things that we're either looking to automate or get different ideas of how to do the support for our customers, but maybe not have to be in person as well. If the challenge here, if we're talking about this traditional legacy support practices, it's not sustainable to have people running everywhere all over campus. Our campuses are large, and we have many of them. And so how can we streamline support to improve service delivery, get out of the traditional legacy way of thinking how we support our people across the university, and then maybe giving them an opportunity that if they can solve customer challenges faster, maybe they can gain some intellectual capacity to work on more automation, more innovation, those creative ideas. That's our first challenge. So legacy support models. In-person support will be discouraged in a post-pandemic world, and so automation and creative innovation support models must be adapted. So that's challenge one. So let's talk about challenge two, building sustainable teams. How can we rethink like how we hire people? What is it that we need to look for when we're building sustainable teams? And how do leaders need to look at differently when you're building a team so that teams can pivot when the technology pivots? Some of the challenges that that I have seen and we leaders have seen are around technology changes all the time, but our teams may not be positioned to make the pivot, either because they hadn't had an opportunity to learn the skill. Leadership hasn't prioritized the work for them to be able to make that transition. And so there's lots of different challenges, but how do you get the right team together, and how do you build those teams and hiring practices? So this top cartoon really kind of hit the nail on the head for me, at least from my vantage point, where we're looking for someone with the wisdom of a 50-year-old, the experience of a 40-year-old, the drive of a 30-year-old, and the pay scale of a 20-year-old. And I know those words aren't shared with me exactly, but the sentiment is definitely there every time we go to market to find somebody. And so since we have to do more with less, the thought is, well, maybe we should think about how we engage with the people that we already have differently. Is there an opportunity to build a coalition of the willing, so to speak? Or can we have different teams that it doesn't matter where you report organizationally? Can we start building some communities of practice for maybe IT support, or maybe we have a community of practice for engineering, or specifically for automation or innovation? And so building sustainable teams isn't just about the hiring practices, although leadership should definitely take a look at the skills and the aptitude, needed in order to build sustainable teams, but we should also look within and putting in career paths and growth paths and putting together programs that allow people to grow in the organization. Taking our experience center agents, giving them opportunities to either move from the desk to maybe desk side support, or maybe now in the operations center where they start taking on more monitoring and putting operations together, and giving them career paths and giving them options. One positive win that UTO has really started to spread across the division is the stretch assignment. This is a program that we created in UTO to allow anyone in UTO be loaned out, and we do like a job sharing. And for any of those people in UTO that want to experience, and they don't have to work in UTO, they can stretch outside of UTO. They go to enrollment, go to admissions, go to student housing, wherever they want to go. But we put this program in to give people an opportunity to see what it might be like to work in a different role, and giving them career paths. And so I would love to be able to broaden this outside of UTO, and I'm definitely interested to hear your ideas on if there's a way we could start to partner and build communities of practice. And so that's our challenge number two, legacy staffing practices. And staffing meaning either hiring or team building or team organizational alignment. It could be any number of that. And so there's value in building teams across and within ASU, regardless of where they report in the organization. that gets us to challenge number 3, culture. Culture is, I think Lev tells a story where Dr. Crow sent him a little note on his first day, and it says, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I think that at least in the year and a half or almost 2 years that I've been here, I have seen this over and over again. Culture is crucial to success. It's the behaviors, it's the practices, it's how we think about how we're going to do our work. And so there is a cultural mindset shift that needs to happen. And so this org chart was given to me as a suggestion, and I loved it because I think it expresses how we feel culture sometimes, a legacy culture. There is no way any correlation to anyone in UTO, because I think this org chart definitely does not represent anyone in UTO, at least anymore, or not since I've been there. I've been very inspired by the entire leadership team at UTO, how we've been able to pivot our culture and behaviors, but we have to make sure everyone's on board. And so the little Pac-Man culture eats, strategy, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and everything else. And it is the innovation killer, is if you don't have an innovation of culture, an innovation of being able to pivot your thinking, the agile mindset. There's a difference between agile practices and an agile mindset, right? We're trying to get culturally an agile mindset so that we can make these pivots. And while change is uncomfortable, embracing change and figuring out how to overcome challenges is the culture we're trying to go for. And so Dr. Crow had mentioned, culture is important, and so is innovation, and they are definitely tied together. So I can see that we have a manager of new growth, and that's always vacant. And what we would like to do is flip that and prioritize innovative thinking, agile thinking, new growth ideas, that sort of thing. So when we look at our challenge number 3, the cultural mindset, we need to be able to pivot from our legacy mindset and put sustainable mindsets in place. So it's a culture activity led by leadership. Okay, so those are the challenges. Whew, all right. Let's talk about one example, not all of them, but one way how UTO was trying to build a culture of sustainable engineers, and I think we have, and we're getting there, and we're getting better every day. And then one example of some of the lessons we learned, and then we'll try and find some more. So the cloud journey was UTO's first big pivot into sustainable practices by moving workloads to the cloud. Great, awesome. So UTO came in and said, let's move to the cloud. Yes. And so some people were super excited. Some people might not have been. And we also didn't have any other clarity. Which cloud? How many clouds? There might be a few. I got a picture. Those are all clouds. And that's just a small snippet. And so the team didn't have any, solid direction initially. And then we decided, okay, we need to do a level set. What we found is that there was a lot of people excited about going to the cloud, but since we didn't have all the leadership aligned to which cloud is it, because we were spread too thin. And so we held, we took a step back and said, all right, maybe we as a leadership team should come together, help establish some North Stars. So we did just that. And we realized it was a culture change. Our CIO had a level set meeting, helped provide guidance to this team that had been, this engineering team that had been tagged as the cloud team. And he just said, let's do AWS first, not only. And it's as simple as providing the North Star. That's all the team needed. And they embraced it, and they worked through Agile, and they came up and they figured out how to make continuous improvement, continuous CI/CD pipelines, continuous improvement, continuous development. They figured out how to get backlogs. They figured out how to automate tons of work. And that is the spirit of a true Agile team, is being able to have this cultural mindset, have leadership aligned, and then empower them to take it forward and do more with it, which they did. which is why the cloud team is so successful. So that's just one example of automating. And so we now flip to a sustainable mindset. That team represents leaders need to create pathways. We develop a working environment that rewards technology innovators, and you protect the engineering talent. It's critical that you protect the engineering talent. You allow automation to do the routine maintenance, and you reduce operational cycles for staff. These are all things we learned from that first cloud team. They've been able to demonstrate to us there's value in here. So now we want to grow it beyond that. So here are some of the things we realized as a result, and these are major accomplishments by the cloud team. Dozens of new Amazon EC2 instances. Basically, were engineered natively in AWS. We've got a code repository now. That's fantastic. We're using orchestration and automation to get infrastructure provisioned. We're doing infrastructure as code. This is fantastic. We're getting things in the CMDB, putting the whole catalog together, tying all of these things together. We're embedding security. We've got a whole bunch of code robots, which is fantastic. And most importantly, our staff have significantly upskilled, which is the first part of helping all of our engineers have sustainable career paths, not just be sustainable engineers. We give them these skills so that they can have opportunities in the future. And we did reduce some costs. So with all that, we're going to go to a breakout session, but don't do anything just yet. I'm going to set the stage here, but in your breakout session, I'd like you to consider the 3 challenges I shared today. I want you to talk about what you think some strategies and mindset pivots are needed to overcome these challenges. And maybe I didn't even share a challenge today that you've experienced as a roadblock that needs to be brought forward as, hey, don't forget this challenge. Or maybe you've considered that there's something else that might help us with this cultural pivot. And I am very encouraged and very excited to hear what you guys come up with. So with that, so I'm hoping to give you just some things. Our 3 challenges are, one of them are the legacy support models. And in a post-pandemic world, how do we maybe bring more automation into our support mechanisms? It's our hiring and team building. Maybe there's challenges there, and the cultural mindsets. And there is more to sustainable practice than just moving to the cloud. That was UTO's first foray, but there are so many more. And I would love to hear any of your ideas on what are some more sustainable practices. And I thought this is a fantastic cartoon over here, because this is one of the things we did is we partnered our teams that used to be broken up into silos, and we put them all in the same room. And so as you see, our network administrator, our system, we have them tied to the leg. But that's exactly the kind of silos we're looking to break down. So let's bring everybody together. And then, of course, please keep in mind, we don't want to burn out our engineers and have them ending up feeling like that. Maybe not looking like it, but feeling like that, because I have started to see that the amount of work that comes in is a lot. So maybe there's an opportunity for other challenges or prioritization. So Gage, how do you want to do breakouts? I'm going to ask you to set us up for the next portion.
I'm sorry, I have an inline cut. I was talking to myself.
Okay.
I think I can go ahead and make 3 breakout rooms.
Or, okay.
And then.
And how many are, yeah, I wasn't sure. Is it 3 breakout rooms? Perfect.
Yeah, it looks like about 3.
And now Gage, can you put in the chat the link to the breakout document? And so whichever breakout room you're in, I would hopefully like someone when you get in there to, to be the documenter. You're going to, let me stop share just for a second. So if you put in the chat, good, that's school sustainability. Gage, could you put in the chat the breakout Google Doc? And then we'll identify a person as someone will figure it out in there, and then someone could document it in the breakout.
Yeah, and then Yoshi, I grabbed your question. If Jess wants to answer that at the end or later.
What do you mean by sustainable?
And then
Okay.
I also will send this doc out to your breakout rooms.
How about I answer the question when we come? Well, no, you might need the question before you go in. So sustainable means that you're set up to be able to make a pivot in the future. So you're not pigeonholed into a specific technology. You're not pigeonholed into a set of practices. You have people who have a broad range of skills that can help advance, and those skills are needed now and into the future. So sustainable means to be able to reuse, recreate, and scale. And so I hope that helps. And I'm looking for big automation ideas. Any other things we can automate, that would be fantastic. So with that, the link is in here. You guys might want to copy and paste it in case you need it in getting your breakout, but Gage might be able to do that. Gage, go right ahead and break them out into sessions. That would be great.
All right. It'll be one of you guys with 7, another 2 with 5.
Perfect.
Off you go. All right, so they're in 3, and it should be yes.
Perfect.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, they're still
yeah.
accepting to join. Okay, I see how that works. And now I have an option to broadcast a message to all, and I will go ahead and broadcast that edit.
Perfect. Thank you. Excellent. And it looks like David and Margaret. I don't know who they are.
One is supposed to be in breakout 3, and the other in breakout 1.
Okay. Oh, David just
There
went.
goes David.
And Margaret, I'm not sure where she went. Or she's just going to stay here. Margaret?
She may not be at her computer at the moment or something. Maybe
So
had to use the restroom.
How did that go in the beginning? Okay.
Yeah. Are you just asking like how you did, or people showing up?
Well, I mean, just like, were you able to see everything? Was it?
Oh yeah, no, everything went well. Like we were able to see everything, and I thought it was interesting. So.
All right, cool.
We only got the one question. I went ahead and pulled that,
Good.
which you've already answered now.
Yep.
Tori,
Carol, thoughts?
Hello.
Hi.
I think it's going well.
Is it all right?
Yeah, and I was trying to read everyone's faces and they all looked engaged. So I think it's going well.
Yeah, it was really hard for me because as a presenter this particular time, I couldn't see anyone's faces. Like it was, I'm sure if I redid my screen, but I was a little nervous, like I don't want to press the wrong button and have something, go wrong. So
Yeah.
we are still recording, by the way, in this session, so just in case. Oh, but I can't thank you guys enough. I loved the memes. And it's really funny because I've practiced this so many times by myself, and even getting into it with Dr. Crow's message this morning, I'm like trying to think real time, how do I weave in those elements into it? How long did we say we'd leave them in there? And I forgot to tell them.
You told me 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay, that'll be, well, and how are we doing with the second session? Like, are we starting at 10:30? Does anybody know? Gage, did you guys have a back channel because we started late?
I don't know if we're starting late. I know we're supposed to be done. There's supposed to be a 10-minute humanity break at 10:20. So we're actually not too far off schedule.
Okay. All right, cool.
And then I'll give them a link to the other one, to the next session, and that starts, I'll start up a little early, but basically they can start joining the waiting room at 10:25.
Perfect. Perfect.
Well, it's definitely very relatable to President Crow's remarks.
Good.
So I was definitely thinking about that in terms of the whole pulsating center and the core of knowledge. It was, it's definitely very relatable. So.
Oh, good. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. Yeah, I know my topic was a little heavy, and it's definitely not as fun as Slack or some of the other ones, which I think, it's okay. But this is good. I had how many, like 15 people?
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I expected. Remember when we went through practice? I'm like, I bet you it's 15, 10 to 15.
17 even, actually. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's exactly what I expected. But that's good. That's good.
I know, I
So
thought it
what's-
was interesting.
Oh,
Just
thanks.
because
Gabe.
you're right, the like your UTO thing, you're like, we've really shifted from that, and it's like, I mean, I told you I started in October. I haven't really come across that, which I can still joke about it and I can tell my friends, but they really can relate to it at times of there's always somebody higher up saying no and don't do this and
Exactly.
doesn't matter what you did, it was wrong.
Yeah, well, I hope we can get away from that. Yeah, I didn't talk. I did cut a lot of it short because I wasn't, I knew we were short on time, so I felt like I also rushed it a little bit. But
He just dropped, or she.
yeah, she just dropped. That's okay.
And I apologize if this was answered, but Erin said, do your best to be done before 10:30
Oh yeah.
and try and give people a 1 to 2 minute break.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do
you want me to
just
go
wanna-
ahead and give them like
pull
a,
2-minute warning or a minute warning?
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay,
And
1
then,
minute warning. Give them a
cool.
1 minute warning so that
Alright.
we can come back and do Q&A.
You want me to bring them back at 10:16?
Yes, please. And Gage, it's nice to see you on camera.
I was trying to figure out my backgrounds yesterday and it just wasn't working. So we're stuck with a blank wall.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I tried setting mine up. Like I was playing with it a little bit. I'm like, oh, I haven't actually used this yet because I never had to use a like camera or anything for my classes.
Okay.
And my computer won't support it without a green screen. And just trying to use it in general, I'm like losing the top side of my head. And I'm like, well,
Yeah,
I have a nice blank wall. This is fine.
I had to plan my hair because I have curly hair,
Mhm.
so it creates that that weird green screen effect when you do this. So I just tried to put it back as much as I could so that it would not, like when I wear it like this, it looks really bad.
See, at least with you though, like it's cutting when it like cuts by your hair, it's cutting extra where it's showing more of you. With me, it was hiding parts of my head.
Yeah, me
So
too.
I was disappearing into the background.
And I even tried putting up a green screen. I have a wall of green
Alright.
tissue paper.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I need to go ahead and bring him back. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, please. Super fun. I can't wait.
We have better things to talk about.
Oh,
yeah, it's gonna be great.
Oh, so all the breakout rooms close in 1 minute. They have 1 minute to leave. I assumed when I closed it, they would all actually close. So they get an extra minute, but they should all be able to have a leave option now to come back.
Okay. You can send them the message, say, go ahead and press the leave option. And if you can.
I don't have any more. I hit the thing. It says all of them will close and it has a countdown timer. I don't have a broadcast. I don't know why they set it up this way. No
We'll
sense.
roll with it. It's all good. It's fun, Toxic. We'll just sit here and quiet. Like I said, I can't wait for someone to watch this recording and they'll be like, hold please. Maybe I can have Cliff edit out this part. I don't know. We'll see.
There we go. Welcome back, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Awesome. It is great to see you back. How did it go? So I'm interested. Let me do this real quick. Share screen here. Share. Okay, so we were here. And I'm going to go here. So hopefully you documented your ideas in the Google Doc. Gage, do you, let's see if I can do this and get there. From group one, who can speak up for group one for me, please? Anyone? Bueller? Thoughts? So it looks like group one, Chris Jordan, Derwin, Darnell, Debbie, David. Chris Jordan, I'm going to nominate you. You knew that was coming.
All right. Yeah, no worries. Derwin actually spoke the most and brought up a good point. He's been at ASU for 30 years, and previously, he felt that at a certain point during Adrian's time that there was a UTO guiding principle that kind of helped determine how we purchase applications and what is built internally versus purchased from the cloud. And so his question was, what is our guiding principle now, and how does that align with kind of the problems we're trying to solve today?
Okay, awesome. No, that's fantastic. Similar to the North Star slide that I'd given, which only applied in that particular instance. But Derwin, and I welcome you to chime in. Derwin, do you want to build upon that?
Well, I was just talking about the fact that we transitioned through various stages. When I first started at the university, it was bleeding edge. We were all basically flying by the seat of our pants, and everything was new because the world was dynamic. It became more complicated. Our resources became constrained, so we actually went under a new guiding principle, which was near follower. That is, let us find what is the best that's being done by others and latch on. Finally, when Adrian came along, it was the split between the concept of core v context. That we wanted to focus our creative efforts on targeting those things that were critical to the core mission of the university, and that gave us competitive advantages at the university. And anything that was contextual would simply be bought off the cloud. Anything that involved what every university had to do, what any business had to do, all of that was contextual, and we didn't want to waste our creative effort on it. So where do we go from that to today?
That's the question. That's the $1 million question. Thank you. Group 2, I see who is in there, and I'll ask for a volunteer first before I call on anyone.
I think it'll be me.
Oh, fantastic, Kayla. Wonderful.
We got cut a little short. We were like really starting to talk about it.
Yeah,
and then
we were on a roll.
Oh, well, please do tell.
Well, we first kind of just started talking about a lot of people feel that we're more productive now than in years past because, like we said, we have those North Stars, we have those defining goals to help guide people. And we feel like lots of tech organizations are facing these exact same challenges, especially during COVID time. Everyone is having these problems. Somebody, I think it was Kevin, maybe Kelly, can't remember, but said that they would like to see UTO take a leadership role in, bringing these organizations together to discuss all of these issues because, together we're stronger. Another thing that was brought up was one of the challenges, struggling to hire talent. Just like your comic had said, it's sometimes difficult to attract talent with our mindset and the resources that we have. So then when we have the idea of engaging the people that we do have, how do we engage and attract those people to want to upskill? How do we, what did Joe say? Teach them how to fish so they would do for themselves and, want to expand out and do that on their own. And right before we got cut off, we were saying that automation really helps with that. But how do we continue to do it more, bigger, better, and then sustainably?
Yeah, those are my questions. Oh no.
Yeah, we'd just started to get into it, but then time.
Well, I would love maybe, and we'll have group 3 in a second, but maybe there's an opportunity for us to formulate some type of community around this and just start to get some traction and discovery, like a group to help discover what are some more things we can automate, what should we be doing, and have the engineers inform us as to what should we be automating, which is really what I'm looking for. Instead of leadership saying, hey, automate this, automate this, automate this, I want the engineers to come to me because as they gain intellectual capacity, I want them thinking about what's the next thing we need to automate. Let's get that out. Let's do this. I'm tired of physically putting disks in drives, which I know we've already solved that problem, but something like that. What's the next thing? What else are engineers mired down with that prevent them from having time to just think and be creative and bring innovative ideas forward. So maybe we could build upon that. So group 3, who, you guys also had a nice big group. So who'd like to speak? Do I have to call on someone? Because we are running out of time. Okay, Sean Snitzer, you're it. You knew it was coming. You were already. Oh no, Yoshi, go right ahead, please. Yes, Yoshi.
Muted
Sure.
on my hand. Sorry. So yeah, we talked slightly about support services. We touch in your first question, how do we provide support, and talking about measuring it. How do we measure the efficacy of doing these supports? Talking somehow, making doing the ratio of the support staff versus people who are being supported through the budget, etc. And also talking about customers' acceptance of the modality that we're doing and the learning curve of that. It takes a while for them to do certain things. Some younger groups have more acceptance than older ones. We talk about the tools like PalmGuard that was available before and how it was applied within ASU historically. The other part was audiovisual, because Sean was talking about what he does and how it is at this time how it has changed, and it was an interesting discussion on that portion. Moving to the cloud and the on-prem support, we touched base on that. We were trying to go further, but the time was too short.
No, this is great. I thank you, Yoshi. Great feedback. It does seem like, I know we were cut short a little bit, and I'm very encouraged by the conversation. Does anyone have any questions, or is there some other big idea you want to throw out there, and maybe Gage can get it in the document for us? Anything?
Anyone in our team can talk on.
And that question is for everybody, anyone.
Right. I think we talked about trying to push things to the cloud as much as UTO has been trying to push things to the cloud, not just to offset cost, but from a support standpoint, the more we can put there, the better off we are. The more applications that are browser based, the less it is PC based, hardware based applications that have to be supported based on different requirements of the laptop and the PC that are there. So it's much, the more cloud resources that become available, the easier it is for support, and the more sustainable and level the playing field is for capabilities for all the students and faculty.
Fantastic.
And we also talk about the non-UTO IT groups out there, how they have been faring, and their voice has been limited so far. RTS, College of Law, IT, these different groups that are out there that we interact with. I think seeing what they do and capturing how they fare and how they succeed is an interesting thing, because their budgets are much more constrained than UTO.
Yep, sometimes. Yeah, that's very true. Awesome. I think you guys, this has been fantastic. I appreciate your help. I hope it was at least slightly entertaining with the memes and the throwback. And I hope that you're going to think about weaving culture and innovation together and trying to figure out ways, how can we free up our engineers so that they have more time to be creative and build really cool and fun things. So I hope I leave that with you. Thank you for participating. Gage, could you please remind everybody how to get where we're going next?